a discussion related to the physical boundary conditions. What are the physical boundary conditions and what need to be applied? So as far as the categorization is concerned here, so as far as the physical boundaries are concerned, they are inlet and outlet boundaries. They are wall boundaries, symmetrical boundaries, periodic boundaries, and axis boundaries. And in addition to this one, there are internal cell zones are also, which also acts like a physical boundary conditions. And other than this one, there are specification or user requirement. There are the other types of boundary conditions also. Right. So let us see in detail what exactly these boundary conditions are going to tell us, or why the boundary conditions are important in the CFD analysis. So when you're solving the Navier-Stokes equation, as far as the continuity equation is concerned, so here the particles are being placed in the vertically aligned in this. And when we are seeing along with the fluid flow, the particles not having the equal velocity along the fluid flow, so they are following the real investigation of the fluid flow by using the CFD applications or by utilizing the CFD tools. So which states that fluid flow problems involved in the real cases need to be applied with the no slip boundary conditions. They should be applied with the no slip boundary conditions. So when you apply the slip boundary conditions, that means the surface is perfectly smooth. So that means our boundary layer profile will be completely, the fluid will be assumed as an inviscid fluid flow case. Okay. So in order to make it as a viscous fluid flow, we have to make sure that it is the no slip boundary conditions need to be applied on the walls of the boundary. Right? So here we can see what is the inlet, outlet are being colored differently. So when you are going for the CFD problem importing, right, this is the flow inside the cylinder. By the flow inside the cylinder, you can see the inlet is colored blue and outlet is colored red, and in between that is a flow where the internally in between the flow is being concerned, and the gray surface is what the fluid continuum, so that the fluid available inside the plate. And this walls of the cylinder is also very important for us to consider, that wall boundary conditions. And what is this Newman's and Dirichlet boundary condition states is, if one boundary condition is moving on the axial direction, if one boundary, so for example, if the Dirichlet boundary condition is along the axial direction, the Newman condition will be going on the perpendicular direction. So these are the Newman's and the Dirichlet boundary conditions in order to investigate the flow movement or flow variation along that particular direction. So this Newman and the Dirichlet conditions will be utilized. And in some cases, there will be like it has to go in the mixed way, so not along only the x direction, not along only the y direction, or not only along the z direction. It has to go in combination of two. Then in that case, we will be calling it as a mixed boundary conditions. We will be calling it as a mixed boundary condition. Now, as far as the flow inlets and the outlets are concerned, so as we all know, generally when there is an inlet for an vent or inlet for a pipe, so there should be an outlet even. Now, here exactly what is our importance, or what we are interested to analyze from this one is, whenever we are talking about the general fluid flow problem, so generally we can define it as a velocity inlet, and we can define it as a pressure outlet. We can define as a pressure inlet and pressure outlet for the general boundary conditions we are going to discuss about. Okay, so that is about the flow inlets. Now coming to the compressible flows, incompressible flows, and if there is any special cases. When we are saying, when intentionally our flow is made an incompressible, so that means we are already know about the flow physics, that the flow physics states that fluid flow is incompressible in nature. Then the fluid flow boundary conditions can be applied with the velocity inlet and the outflow boundary conditions. As far as the compressible flow conditions are considered, or compressible flow modeling geometry or analyzing it, in that case better to go within a mass flow rate, in order to not to approach with the pressure inlet, not to approach with the velocity inlet. But when you are going with the mass flow inlets, so that result accuracy will be good. So it is suggested that whenever we are going for the flow inlet and outlets, we have to take care in terms of the compressible flows that it should be the mass flow inlet and the pressure far-field conditions need to be adopted for compressible flow conditions, that need to be adopted for compressible flow conditions. Okay, compressible flow conditions. Okay, so coming to this particular flow inlets and the outlets, so we need to define this particular boundary conditions in the CFD domain. And as far as your theoretical understanding is concerned with respect to the textbook, it is only on the walls of the boundary where v is equal to 0, u is equal to 0, w is equal to 0. That is only specified in your, as far as the theoretical understanding is concerned. And there the author also has left it to the user, or the author has left it to the reader. So reader, you define according to your boundary conditions and choose accordingly whenever your further study need to be approached. No, we cannot do like that, because as we all want to go for the physical approach, or we want to go in the virtual environment, we want to analyze it. For that only we are expanding all this discussion here in this one. Now, so what are the general guidelines is, so selection of the boundary conditions is very important in that particular fluid flow problem, and it is directing the convergence even in that one. It is directing even the convergence in that one. And in most cases, convergence would be very easy, but the convergence is dependent on many factors, like based upon your grid accuracy or the level of refinement you make it on the small cells and confined. If every surface is matched onto the cell, then only the result accuracy can be matched. Right, so in that case, we will say grid skewness should be less than 1. So that is the value which is going for the surface onto that one. So that should be of the close match to that one. So that we will call it as a grid skewness. Right, and as far as the inlets and the outlets are concerned, we should make sure that the inlet should not be again same as an outlet. So if your inlet and outlet are there, see in the same case, so how the fluid can enter and leave out in the same inlet flow case, right? So that type of boundary conditions we need to avoid it, or we have to take care when we are defining those one. Unless if you are not taking a proper care in defining this boundary condition, what exactly happens is it will automatically diverge the solution. It will go into the vertical form and it will completely result in the divergence. So flow will be resulting in the divergence of it, right? Okay, fine. So next, let us move on to the pressure boundary conditions which you have studied earlier. So as far as the pressure is concerned, from your fluid mechanics, as far as the pressure is concerned, so we will be calling it as the absolute pressure or the gauge pressure. So the gauge pressure is the pressure defined by the instrument which we are using it to measure. So that is only the measured pressure is called as a gauge pressure. But as far as the atmosphere is concerned, there is always an addition of atmospheric pressure on the pressure we are measuring it. So that means we are measuring above the values of the atmosphere. If you are measuring above the values of the atmosphere, then we are measuring the absolute pressure. And if you are measuring below the values of atmosphere, the pressure, so that means we are measuring only the vacuum pressure. We are measuring the vacuum pressure. The best example is, how do we consume a liquid by using a straws or a small tubes? How do we consume a liquid by using a small straws or the lip tubes? Yes. So you will be putting a vacuum pressure. You will be giving a vacuum pressure so that the fluid comes into your mouth. So that is when you are dipping a tube inside the fluid. So that means you are creating the vacuum pressure so that the fluid pressure rises up and it reaches to your mouth there. Right. So that is about the vacuum pressure. And in same case, when you are putting a straw inside the liquid or the juice and you start giving the positive pressure. When you start giving the positive pressure, positive pressure will be converted in that and it will be forming a bubbles in that one. But you will never get the liquid juice into your mouth when you give the positive pressure. So that you will be giving a negative pressure. So in order to understand that one, so, but this is a simple understanding about the pressure. What do we define it as? An absolute pressure. Now, coming in the further discussion, so the pressure inlet boundary conditions, as we mentioned earlier, so that the pressure boundary conditions can be applied when the case, it is a simple fluid flow case, we have mentioned it as pressure inlet and the pressure outlet. But here, should be very careful about when we are talking about the compressible flows, or are we discussing about the incompressible flows? So when it is an incompressible flow case, simply the Euler's derived equation, that is Euler's derived equation, the output of that Euler's derived equation is a Bernoulli's equation. Then the Bernoulli's equation can be applied to obtain the solution of total pressure. So that is P is equal to P total, that is total pressure is equal to static pressure plus the dynamic pressure. This is very easy and we can apply this equation. But when your fluid flow is having a compressible flows, so that means compressibility effects are coming into the picture. In that case, I can't apply my Bernoulli's equation at that particular point. So my compressible equations will be differing from the incompressible flow conditions, right? So in order to find out that total pressure, is nothing but P total is equal to P static into plus the 1 plus K minus 1 by 2 into m square to the power of K by K minus 1. So now the question comes, where does these equations have come from? So these equations are come from the isentropic flow relations. So where we have obtained these equations relating it to the compressible flows, and where m is a Mach number and K is the ratio of specific heats, that is Cp by Cv. Taking this into consideration, so that means we should be very particular whenever we are defining about the flow condition, whether we are going for the incompressible case or whether we are going for the compressible case. So you can apply that Mach number condition in that one, and you can resultant equation need to be applied or choose it accordingly while defining this flow inlet conditions. So why this is very important? Because so we have to, because the user has to give the correct inputs, then only it is the expected output will be same. Just like it's a calculator, just like it is in a calculator which is giving as per your input, the outputs are expected. So for that reason, we should be very careful about which type of boundary conditions we are applying it. If it is pressure boundary condition, whether we are applying a incompressible case or whether we are applying within a compressible case. Okay. Now, not only this pressure boundary conditions, in this additionally, when we are talking about the compressible flow conditions, not only the pressure varies with respect to the Mach number, even the temperature varies with respect to the Mach number, and on the other side, the density also varies with respect to the Mach number. So we need to relate it from the isentropic relations. We need to relate it from the isentropic relations, how the pressure is varying. When the pressure varies, P is equal to rho RT, that is a perfect gas law equation need to be applied. And again, accordingly, how the temperature varies along that particular fluid flow, and then accordingly, how the density is varying in that fluid flow. This need to be addressed in our equations of boundary conditions when we are applying initially. So that means before approaching the problem to the numerically, these answers should be available in the user hand. So what is the input I am giving? Whether I am solving a problem related to the compressible flows, whether I am solving a problem where there is no heat involvement is possible, where there is no density change is possible, whether no, there is a possibility of the density change. Yes, there is a possibility of the energy transfer. It can happen. Yes, then you need to relate it to the isentropic relations. Although we go with some assumptions in the isentropic relation, that can be compensated when your result is being achieved in our resultant equations. Okay, this is all about the pressure inlet boundary conditions we are discussing about. So in order to now let us move on to the pressure outlet boundary conditions. Now, till now we were discussing about the pressure inlet boundary conditions. Now, as far as the pressure outlet is concerned, so now you may question me that, sir, as far as the outlet is concerned, what is the very much concern about the outlet? So, as far as the outlet is defined as where the flow is leaving out to the atmosphere, where the flow is leaving out to the atmosphere, it is an outlet. So, here exactly the pressure outlet forms an interface between the outer atmospheric zone and at the outlet zone. This is a very important for us. If you give outlet pressure as very high, you have raised the pressure at the outlet as very high, then the fluid will not be resultant, will not be leaving outside the flow. So that means it can't come up from the outside of the flow, as the fluid is already started reversing in this direction, and the fluid is trying to come even from the outlet direction. So the solution will start diverging. Because the resultant equations of the continuity itself is not satisfied, because the end pressure at that one you have been defined as very high. So always we should make sure that our flow at the outlet should be minimal, whatever it is being released outside from that one, right? So then only the fluid is possible to leave out from that one, right? So during defining the boundary conditions and during initiating these values, we should be very careful about this one, right? And in some cases, we will like whirl of the fluid flows, and when it is coming to the outside of the fluid flow, how it behaves on the exactly at the outlet. So this interface we should be very careful about during defining the outlet boundary conditions. And when you are not properly defined this outlet condition, the convergence can be never achieved in some cases, and in some cases, if the solution need to be achieved in 100 iterations, if the solution need to be obtained, then in that case it may go for 1 lakh iterations also. Still the convergence may be going. The convergence value will never come down. So that means the error will not come down in that case. Right? So we should be very careful about when we set up these inlet and outlet conditions. Again, so here also we should be very careful about the conditions what we are applying from the inlet to the outlet, whether it is matching to leave out the outlet or not. And where the outlet is related to, the outlet interface is to the atmosphere. Atmospheric pressure is 1 bar. No, sir, I am applying it for the space application. So yes. In that case, change your pressure. No, I am applying below the water. I am applying so where there is a vacuum pressure is being available outside this one. So then define the vacuum pressure at the outlet, right? So define the vacuum pressure at the outlet. Just check first physically whether the flow is possible or not. Without that one, we can't given an appropriate boundary conditions cannot be defined at this case. Now let us move on to the next one, that is the velocity inlets and the velocity outlets. So as far as this we are discussing about this inlets, as far as the velocity vector is concerned, so this defines the velocity property. This defines the velocity properties of the fluid. So as far as the velocity inlets are concerned, this is a velocity vector. This is a velocity vector and the scalar properties at the inlet boundaries. And this is very useful at the inlet boundary conditions, where it defines whether the flow profile need to be followed within a parabolic or there's a straight profile. Like in the inviscid flow, it has to behave at that particular point. So, and at the same time, we should be very particular why we are considering it as a vector and scalar is. So as far as the flow is concerned, the continuum is only talking about the scalar properties of it. And as far as the momentum is concerned, it is talking about the directions in each direction how the fluid is behaving, right? So when it is an incompressible flows, The total stagnation properties may be defined for the flow conditions, and when it is in a compressible flow conditions, again we have to adopt how the velocity flow will be varying internally in that one, right? And we should make sure that always the inlet should be free to flow inside. Always the inlet should be allowed, so that the velocity at the inlet you can't keep any obstruction. So the flow, it immediately hits that wall and immediately goes back to the solution. The solution will say immediately, it will at the first iteration or at the second iteration it will fail the solution, stating that flow has resulted in the divergence. Always the divergence means that, so flow has resulted in the reverse case, and result is not able to move it in the forward direction, so that it is moving in the backward direction, and that is not a physically possible problem. So even we can't move when it is solid boundaries in front of us. Solid boundaries, if it is obstructing us, how we can move forward? So we should be very careful about the inlet boundary conditions. So as far as the outlet boundary conditions are concerned, so if you are defining the velocity out the outlet, if you are defining the velocity at the outlet, so then we have to take the prior consideration from the atmospheric pressure, whether in that atmosphere, my flow velocities can leave out from that one, or it stays at the exit only. Then in that cases also, the flow may not be leaving out completely, but it will reach onto the exit and there it stagnates there. But physically the continuity equation need to be matched. Out of the exit it has to move out, right? So that condition again bars it not to go for the convergence, or this flow solutions may not be achieved in that case. We should make sure the conditions which you are applying it from the velocity, it should be equivalent to that particular pressure. Now you ask questions on how we can relate, how do we know that pressure, what is the outside pressure from the inlet, whether it is matching or not. So you can use, if it is in an incompressible case, use your Bernoulli's equation and apply it there at the exit, and what are the pressure available at that point. Then you simply find out your dynamic pressure, from that when velocity is available, and equate it. If your velocity is going out, definitely the fluid is going to result in the convergence. Very easily we are going to result in the convergence solutions. Okay. So now before going for the next topic, let us talk about even what are the restrictions in the, what are the restrictions on the outflow boundary condition, not allowing it to move out, not allowing that particular fluid to move out. So now some will be saying that, yes sir, I have defined a very good accurate number, I have defined it, I have theoretically obtained all the numbers and I have applied to this one, still my solution is not giving me a convergence at a required error rate, or the required error reduction rate. In that case, what would be the possibilities in that one is, look at the geometries. In that case, look at the geometries you have in that. So whether the geometries you are having, which type of geometries you have defined it, in that geometry where all the fluid is possible, whether you have considered all the fluid flow or not, just check with that. So to understand that, when I have brought it now on screen, you can see that the outflow boundaries cannot be used, with compressible flows, with pressure inlet boundary condition, use velocity inlet instead. Okay, so when your outflow boundary conditions cannot be used within a compressible flows and cannot be used with the pressure inlet boundary condition, you have to use velocity inlet instead of that one. And because the combination does not require uniquely set a pressure gradient over the whole domain in unsteady flows, so that means outflow boundaries cannot be used in unsteady flows with variable densities. Outflow boundaries cannot be used in unsteady flows with the variable density. These points will matter a lot when you're approaching with any numerical tool, or when you are in programming on your own code with the CFD equation, that is the governing equations. When you are relating it to the fluid flow problem or applying to any geometry, this matters a lot. This is a very important discussion related to this. Now next, and do not use the outflow boundaries where flow enters the domain or when the backflow occurs. In that case, better to go with the pressure boundary conditions. Just see on the opposite side of it. With the pressure inlet boundary condition, use the velocity inlet instead, because the combination does not uniquely set a pressure gradient over the whole domain. And here it is saying flow enters the domain when backflow flow. So do not use the outflow boundary conditions where flow enters the domain. And gradients, do not use outflow boundary conditions where the gradients in the flow directions are significant for us. And do not use the outflow boundary conditions where conditions downstream of the exit plane impact the flow in the domain. You see here the geometry is best explained in this one. So outflow condition, that is nil post. So here you can see, and A, B, C and the D, it is defining about the geometry, but here I have a cavity in this one. So in this cavity there is a backflow occurring on this particular flow. Outflow condition is nil post in this one. Then you see here the outflow condition is not obeyed at all. At this point outflow condition is obeyed. At this point outflow condition is closely obeyed as the fluid is reaching out at this D location. So in order to take out these flows, these things, you can just take it as do's and do nots in that particular fluid flow boundary conditions. Sir, I have taken a proper care whatever you have mentioned in the earlier discussion. Yes, even this need to be considered in order to restrict that outflow flows, outside flows to come out from the outlet, right? This need to be taken very care about it. Now let us talk about even the multiple inlets. So somebody who even interested in this multiple inlets and the exits when it happens, how it can be. So the case may be like the case may be the injectors where it is having a one inlet and multiple outlets. I mean, the best example is a rocket injector where it has only one inlet, or where it has an n inlets and it has n plus 100 outlets. N plus 100 outlets may be there, right? So in that case, the use of the boundary conditions, how we can go for the use of the boundary conditions in that cases. So you can see here the inlet velocity rate weight. FRW represents the flow rate weighting on that one. So it's set to the one default. So in these cases, when we are modeling a one inlet and a multiple outlets, better to take the complete mass flow into consideration. So when you are going for the inlet outlet conditions, so if it is incompressible case, easily we can find out what is the flow of the outlet. But when it is a very complex case, better to go within a mass flow boundary conditions in that case, because we are not sure exactly how much the fluid is leaving out from the other end. So in order to consider the turbulence effects effectively, all when you are modeled only, our solution may result in the convergence. Otherwise, our solution will not be resulting in the convergence so easily. So that means the number of iterations will be going at a very high rate, and accuracy of the results also we are not obtaining. But on the same scale, the error is coming repeatedly and solution is also not converging. So in order to avoid such problems, when you are using a multiple outlets, better to go with a mass flow rate as our boundary conditions. Mass flow rate as our boundary outlet. At the outlets is equivalent to the inlet flow which is entered inside. So in those conditions, we can even define as a pressure outlets or the velocity, where we can define as a pressure inlets or the velocity inlets can be applied when you are going for the multiple exits. Now, talking else, right? So these are all mass flow inlet and pressure far field. So this previous discussion we have discussed about the pressure and the velocity inlets. Now let's talk about the mass flow inlets. Where exactly I need to apply this mass flow inlet? So the mass flow inlets are better suggested or better utilized in the case of compressible flows. You put mass flow inlets as your boundary condition, convergence of the solution, and error also can be reduced at a high rate when you are using these boundary conditions of the mass flow inlet. And at the same time, where I can use the pressure far field instead of defining the outlet conditions in that case, where it is resulting in the compressible fluid flows, cases, better to go with the pressure far field. So where the far field is directly relating it with the density, which is calculated from the ideal gas equations, and it will be applied to that infinite boundary conditions. Obtained solutions can be achieved by using this pressure far field conditions. And so when you are applying the pressure far field conditions for the compressible flows, that means the solution can automatically adopt it, or it can adopt the ideal gas laws. So how exactly it matches with the atmosphere at that range, right? So that can be easily achieved with a mass flow inlets and the pressure far field as their outlets, or the pressure far field is a domain which is completely placed over it. So the aircrafts, when they are moving into the compressible flows, the aircrafts when they are moving into the compressible, which are resulting in the shock waves internally, or the aircrafts which are moving at the supersonic speeds, we can apply the mass flow conditions, that is mass flow inlet and the pressure far field conditions. So then we can best utilize and demonstrate that flow conditions, or the flow which is happening inside that particular domain, or in the far field of that aircraft. Okay. Now, the other boundary conditions which are not discussed here in this one, or till now what we have not discussed, is about the fans. For example, I'd like to model fan flows. I'd like to model a fan flows, or I'd like to model an impeller flows, or I'd like to model a turbine flows. In that case, what would be my boundary condition? So as far as the turbines are concerned, so I will see in the next discussion, I'll continue that one. So as far as other than these boundary conditions, for example, I'm designing a chimney for my home, and the chimney outlet I would like to analyze in that. In that case, I can take it as an outlet vent. In that case, I can take my outlet vent. So with a specified exhaust pressure may be reached, right, or the loss of pressure need to be achieved because of the height variation which is given in the chimney location. So in that case, we can give as an inlet vents and the outlet vents, or the intake fans or the exhaust fans, or exhaust fan. And for the chimney cases where it is a difference of the pressure need to be created by the fans. So in order to, in addition to this, we need to even add the turbulence parameters in our fluid flow problem when it is going within a viscous flow cases. So till today, no one has defined the boundary. Till today, no one has accurately given how much the turbulence would occur inside the fluid flow. So that means we are only going with an approximation that in my fluid flow, if the turbulence, consider this much of turbulence is available, but accurately how much the turbulence will occur and how much is the energy loss till today. Till today, it is X million or trillion dollar question. If anyone has solved it, they are ready to give that amount to them. Till today it is been unsolved, so they are leaving it to the nature how much it is. But some of the researchers will not agree with this point, so they will say that yes, I have modeled the equation even for the turbulence, but their modeled equations are based upon some assumptions. So even those cases are only 70% accurate. 70%, that means remaining 30% is unsolved, or remaining 30% cases may result in the failure of those problems which he has given it as 100% accurate also. So in order to address those turbulence parameters in our computational domain, so they will be asking even about the turbulence resulting in our equations. So there are four methods to define about the turbulence rate, how much is happening in the fluid flow, or we set the turbulence intensity and the length scale range, how much it is, and either we define the intensity and the viscosity ratios, or either we define the turbulence intensity and the hydraulic diameter. So these numbers will be only the approximation we are going to give it. And if you keep very high turbulence rate in your flow, in your fluid flow, so that means the fluid flow is having initially turbulence only. If you have more turbulence is there till it reaches the outlet of that particular outlet domain, it takes very much time for it to reach the outlet, and in some cases because of this turbulence the fluid may get reversed back also. So they'll keep it with 20%, but some cases will be there when that the turbulence is only the important factor. For example, I am talking about the swirling of the flows, I'm talking about the tornadoes, I'm talking about the combustion in the combustion chamber where the swirling of the flows is required. So in that case, so this turbulence, kinetic energy and dissipation rate will not be valid. So in that case, we have to model the equation accordingly. So in that case, I will be using the angular dissipation rate. In that case, I am using the angular dissipation rate. The problem will be choosing even the turbulence parameters. Now, so in order to relate the turbulence intensity, so some will be not agreeing with the values, whatever it is available inside. So for that one, the turbulence intensity can be defined like this by using the formula. The turbulence intensity is equal to 2 by 3 of K, where K is the turbulence kinetic energy, where K is the turbulence kinetic energy. We need to define initially the turbulent kinetic energy and the velocity you are applying in that flow. Velocity magnitude you are applying in that flow. Okay, so then you can define how much is the intensity and the length scale, you can keep on that one. And downstream, upstream, and fully developed flows, this is the range and the standard ranges they have given in that one. So within the intensity can be 20%. In case of a downstream of perforated plate or the screen, it can be 10%. And in case of fully developed flow or the duct, it is 5%. So that means in our programming code, we are already defined with this range. That means there is an option provided for us to choose this. So let us discuss about the next one, that is about the wall boundary. So as far as the inlet outlets are concerned, what about the wall? If it is the internal flows, the wall is present which is covering that particular itself is our boundary. The wall itself is boundary. So for example, flow over the wing, flow over the car, flow over an aircraft, flow over a submarine. Right? These are all flow over the boundary. So that means wall boundaries are very important in that case. And if in case I am talking about the flow inside the pipe or flow inside confined solid region, where inside that one only the fluid flow is happening in that, right? So that means the wall boundary conditions is also very important. And at the same time, when it is in reality, all the fluid flows are viscous in nature. When we are talking about the viscous fluid flows, we have to apply the no slip boundary condition need to be applied on the walls of it. When it is the viscous flows, no slip boundary condition need to be applied on the walls of it, right? And also, whatever the wall boundary condition it is being applied on this one, but there is additional roughness on the surface of it. There is additional roughness due to the shear stress may vary in that case. So in that shear stress, so that is your tau is equal to mu into du by dy, or tau is equal to lambda plus 2 mu into du by dy in the x direction, right? So that explains that values are already available. So you just need to define the value of the shear stress. So theoretically you examine it and apply that value in the tau. So that means automatically it will assume that yes, coefficient of viscosity for the fluid, the second viscosity coefficient is applying on this one is this. So that will be taken into the CFD analysis. That will adopt it accordingly. And other than these conditions, where the wall is very important analysis is where in that case it is about thermal boundary condition. That is a case which is related to the thermal boundary condition. That is where the heat transfer is involved. Where heat transfer is involved, that is a very important case. That is related to the thermal boundary condition we are talking about, right? So there, the wall material, wall thickness, and wall temperature plays a very important role when you are talking about the thermal analysis, right? And next case, the fluid, not only in the thermal, so that is fluid related thermal or fluid related. The other case, the fluid related to the solid. See, in some cases, the fluid can make the solid to bend like this. Right. So in some cases, the fluid only will influence the solid, and material is also very important for us. So what materials are being used inside that one? But in that case, it is not only the fluid factor which is effectively changing that boundaries or changing that flows. So that is, and that is a multi-physics subject where it will be called as fluid structure interaction, where it will be called as fluid structure interaction. And under this category, the aeroelasticity, that means the solids influence under solid influence or the solid variation or solid deformation under the influence of the. And in addition to this, wall boundaries also plays a key role when you are talking about one, that is boundary layer. When you are talking about this boundary conditions, it is very important when whether we are dealing with the thermal conditions, whether we are dealing with the structural conditions, or only we are dealing the wall as wall only. So that means I don't want to consider any wall about it. So for example, it is a flow over the same time. The wall boundary conditions and the wall roughness will influence the complete fluid flow turbulence also. The fluid turbulence also can be investigated with the wall roughness. Next boundary condition we are discussing about, that is the symmetry boundary conditions. So now the question comes, why symmetry boundary conditions need to be adopted? Why symmetry boundary conditions? For example, when you are talking about an apple, for example, a simple example of an apple, if you are talking about, so if I have cut apple into the two, so that is exactly that portion is not there, but where the curved surface is there. Apple, consider it's a spherical ball. So I've cut half of it and I'm showing you only one side. So from one side you can visualize that yes, it's an apple, only full apple. When I'm seeing onto the other side, it is only half. So what I have done is half apples can be two nuts, and it is so just like my hands, both are similar. Both are similar but opposite in the direction. This is symmetric about, right? This is symmetric about this side. Similarly, the domains also can be symmetric. For example, if I cut the cylinder into the two halves exactly along from its center line, that has formed two halves, and two halves are of equal shapes, right? They are two halves. So in that case, symmetric boundary conditions, to apply the symmetric boundary conditions, I'll go with the regular full model. Yes, you can go with the even full model also. Why we want to go with the symmetric boundary conditions is we want to avoid this half flow analysis. Only in my flows, only half will be analyzed, and after analysis, I will say this is mirror of this one. This is mirror of this one. In results, if I can make it out, so that means I'm saving my computational time in that. So that is defining it symmetrically. So here in this image, you can see the bottom one and the vertical one where the arrows are placed. These two are symmetrical to this surface. So this wall is similar. These two are the walls which is acting. So if I place this, let me annotate it and show you. If I place this my wall here, right, same wall can be placed here also because it's similar to this one. Same wall can be placed here also, this one. So like this is having a symmetry. So why I need to analyze on the complete one? Then in that case, so better to analyze only on one surface. I'm applying only on the small cube, and the small cube can be replaced with all the sides if I'm applying the proper boundary conditions. So that means here there are some even we have to apply some logics even, or we have to take advantage of the fluid flows even, in order to save our computational time and computational power also. With the less power also we have to run it. We can run it. The periodic boundaries. So there are generally two types of periodic boundaries. So maybe better you can understand with the images only. So in the periodic boundaries here you can see where the delta P, that the pressure variation is equal to P2 minus P1 is equal to 0. And in the other case where the pressure variation is not equal to 0, but it is greater than 0. When it is equal to 0, the swirling flow. So might be in your fluid mechanics you have studied about the forced flows, or the forced flows under the influence of the force. There is a parabolic curve formed in that way. So that flows can be modeled under the delta P is equal to 0. So that is a type 1 of periodic boundary condition. So the continuous swirling is happening. But in second case, I'm being confined at one point. And here you can see the rotationally periodic boundary conditions. So they are rotationally same. So that means they are forming a sinusoidal wave. Continuously they are forming a sinusoidal wave. So that means if I analyze only one wave and apply continuously on that wave, that is my periodic conditions. Let on the screen. So that is about the delta P greater than 0. About the delta P greater than 0. Let us see about this condition now. So when the delta P is greater than 0, this is my completely cylinders are available here in this one. Cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is what, or they have given me, so they have asked me a solution to find out on these cylinders. You analyze the flow over the cylinders and let us know 9 cylinders or over the 9 cylinders, but it is all outside the fluid, outside the cylinder, how the fluid is behaving. But if you look at the problem here in this one, so one cylinder is good enough. See, one cylinder is covered with the adjacent other one, and another cylinder is covered with the adjacent one. So if I consider only, for example, you may say that, sir, if I consider only this one, is it good enough? No, because this cylinder is covering, yes, adjacent 2 cylinders are available, but this cylinder is not having an inlet at this point. So I can't consider this a cylinder alone. Can I consider one? It is again interface in between the other cylinder. So it is better for us to consider the periodic boundaries like this. it is better to consider the periodic boundaries like this. So this one and this one. Now what I will do is, let me annotate it and show you. Now what I will do is, I'll apply my periodic boundary conditions here. At this point analysis, I will show that this is a periodic boundary on the other side and this is a periodic boundary to the other side. So then by this way, I can easily analyze with a less computational power, and my solution would remain same. My solution would remain same in that case. Okay, these two are going to be similar on that one. These two are going to be similar on the both sides. Okay. Now, see another example where the periodic boundary conditions are best utilized is, the periodic boundary conditions are best utilized for the flow through impellers, turbines, axial flow compressors. Here all the periodic boundary conditions will be utilized in that. Okay, the periodic boundary conditions will be utilized in all the cases where it is involved within a task or 52 blades or 62 blades. They will analyze 1 or 2 blades, that's it. So that is the blade here you can see in the geometry. So only one blade is being analyzed in this one, and that blade is being applied with the periodic boundary condition. And when your full analysis is being achieved, they'll be modeled, they'll be analyzed, so you no need to model the complete like this. You just do this one blade analysis and apply it onto the full one, as it is completely symmetric and the periodic boundaries are available on that one. So that is the result to take advantage. So you can see even here, the calculated cell is the yellow one, and the yellow one is covered by all the cells. So this cells is resulting in the other flow cells cases. So that means the calculated cell results can be applied to all the cells and we can obtain the results. Okay. So that is what we can apply for this one. Okay. So that is what we can apply for this. The period. Next one is about the axis boundary condition. So where it is applied on the center line of the axis. This is for the two-dimensional domains. And the cell zones is a fluid. Cell zones is a fluid which is available inside that one. Cell zones is the fluid which is applied inside to this. What are the fluid we are placing it inside this one? In whether the fluid density we are defining, that conditions will be applying it to the fluid. So for that, either it is single species, multi-species, or there are two multi-physics, that is solid and air particles are coming, or solid and water particles are coming into that one. That can be defined under the fluid case, or it is. And in some cases it can be porous media even. So that means outside area where it is covered with some other material, and there it will be called as a porous media. And when it comes to the moving zones, this is the best examples for just we have discussed about the turbine blades or the impellers when we are analyzing it on the moving zones. And when you are talking about the solids, this is what the solids influence. See, if your solid is not properly defined, then the fluid can stay inside and it can enter from the inlet and only can reach out to the outlet. Otherwise, if your solid zone is not properly defined, it has to come from the solid zones also. That would be resulting in the error of the solution. And internal phase boundaries. So this is defined for mostly for the impellers and the fan blades. So here you can see in the animation. Here in the animation you can see for this type of cases there's an internal phase. So then next about the material properties. So that is density, viscosity, heat capacity, molecular weight, and thermal diffusivity. This all comes under the material properties of the boundary condition. Then the fluid density. If it is incompressible, density constant. Compressible, density varies, pressure varies, temperature varies. These conditions need to be taken into account. So in boundary conditions, when you are applying when you are choosing the correct fluid flow in that one, when you are applying the solid boundary conditions correctly, this all can specify that fluid flow problem is correct. Then only we can avoid the errors occurring in that particular fluid flow. Right. In order to summarize this, what we have discussed about is, so that summarizes that zone with the boundary conditions and entry, exit, warp field conditions, and repeated boundaries or periodic boundaries when it need to be adopted. That is what we have seen in this one. So which changes that particular fluid flow physics only completely if you are not properly defining this all. If you are not properly defining this all, the fluid flow properties, that one. So in order to summarize that one, so we need to exactly define these conditions, internal zones, fluids, and solid media in that one, and the periodic boundaries when you choose exactly need to be understood in our physics.